This episode is presented by Visit Cedar City Bryan Head Tourism Bureau. Discover the art of adventure at Utah's gateway to the parks. Cedar City is within a few hours' drive from 6 different national parks and monuments, and only 30 minutes from fresh snow at Bryan Head Resort. Check out visitcedarcity.com to plan your next trip. This episode is sponsored by the Cedar City Business and Innovation Center. Dedicated to supporting local businesses and entrepreneurs, it provides resources and services aimed at fostering business creation, growth, and retention. The center features the Makerspace, where entrepreneurs and small businesses can have access to 3D printers, video production and photography equipment, t-shirt printing, and more. Whether you're starting a new venture or looking to expand an existing one, the Cedar City Business and Innovation Center offers the tools and guidance to help you succeed. To learn more and get involved, visit innovationcenter.cc. Hello and welcome to the Explore Local podcast presented by Visit Cedar City Bryan Head in partnership with Cedar City Iron County Economic Development. Produced by Dallas Smith Media, and I'm your host, David Johnson. All right, and today we have Jon Oglesby back with the Utah Summer Games, or as I should say, the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games. Jon, we're grateful to have you back on the show.
David, it's an honor to be back. I don't know, am I the first repeat visitor?
I think you are the first repeat visitor
here.
I think you were also our first episode.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's the honor, right? The first guy invited back.
There you go.
It's like when you get to sit with Carson, right? You know, the first guy to get invited back, you know that you must have done something right in the first episode.
Yeah,
no, it's cool to be here again. Yeah. Thank you.
And we got our logo. We're a little bit more polished.
Got our cups
our
now
Cedar
here.
City mugs. Yeah, that's right.
This is big. This is
much better, than what looked like the closet before.
This is big time here, and it's been it has been cool over the last few episodes just to see kind of the continued growth and the different things getting added to the set. So it's an honor to be back.
Yeah, glad to have you. Well, Jon, last time you were on, we talked a lot about some of the cool things that were going to happen with the Utah Summer Games, but you had to be cryptic. You were like me. People tease me about always being cryptic about, well, I can't talk about what's coming.
I'm one of those people too, by the way. That's you and I's back and forth.
Yeah. We have to keep tight lips until others make their public announcements, right?
Yeah.
But since we've met, there's been a few public announcements of the Utah Summer Games. So dive into what some of those new things that have happened over the last year and what's up and coming for this next season of the Utah Summer Games.
Yeah, it's really been incredible, some of the announcements that we've had over the last month, several months, to be quite honest. I think the big one that's just, it's hard to ignore, and so we'll just start with it, is the announcement of a partnership with the Las Vegas Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that is one of the marquee announcements that we've had. And I think it's marquee, and I'll take a couple different angles at it. I think it's marquee for us because, one, just for the Utah Summer Games, for the growth that we've had in the last couple of years, to have a partner like the Raiders come in that is helping us get a great start as we jump into the football market with both 7-on-7 as well as girls flag football. To have that opportunity, to have a partner like that is actively involved in making that a great experience, that's amazing for us as just a sports property entity to have them involved. I think it's marquee though at a bigger level because the Raiders are they're not only a franchise in the National Football League, they're an iconic franchise in the National Football League.
Legendary, love or hate, the Raiders, right?
They have a brand, they have an image. They have a variety of sayings that I'm a huge fan of associated with the franchise. They have a lore.
Mm-hmm.
They are indeed the Raiders and Raider Nation.
Yeah.
And so to have that now synonymous with the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games, with Southern Utah University, with Cedar City, and to be one of really their first major jumping off points in the state of Utah. They've done a variety of things in Utah, but this is no doubt a bigger investment for them as a franchise. And to be a steward of that, to carry the torch, which is what their late owner Al Davis frequently would say is an honor for us. It's an honor for me personally.
Yeah.
And we're hoping to be great stewards of that.
Yeah, and I'm excited, and this is a little tease for the up and coming episode after this one, is we're actually going to have a representative from the Raiders on the Explore Local podcast show to talk about why Utah, why Utah Summer Games, and what they're trying to do as Raider Nation to expand out into the local communities.
Yeah, they are wonderful people. I will tell you that. They're wonderful to meet with, visionary people, bold in what they want to do. And they see football, no doubt, as a vehicle that drives really an increase in the quality of life from a business standpoint, from a health and wellness standpoint, from a tourism standpoint. It's inspiring to sit and visit with them, to hear about how they're using football to drive really our entire region.
Yeah.
And I would specifically say the I-15 corridor linking Salt Lake and the Las Vegas Valley. And again, for us to be a part of that, because where we're situated is an honor, and we're looking forward to having them in town.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, well, that's only the tip of the iceberg, though. There's a lot of other things that you've announced recently. So let's dive into some of those other things. I'll let you choose.
Oh man, let's just go through. I think, we're coming off the Special Olympics Utah partnership with the first year of that. And I think,
that was one of the big announcements.
One of the big announcements of us moving into that. This was year one of us hosting Special Olympics Utah in our community. And I think again, so many different positives out of this. This is a, kind of a business centered podcast. So we'll start on that piece and get into some of the other pieces of it here in a minute. But just from a business aspect, I think a few years ago, as I entered being a steward of this position, no doubt within our hospitality sector in town, it was, how do we get opening ceremony is already a big weekend, a sellout weekend. How do we add more sellout weekends to our schedule?
Right.
So when you take a sustained growth of our Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games high school basketball tournament, which takes place the weekend after Memorial Day, then you add 600 plus competitors who are staying in the SUU dorms, but then you add just all of the different support personnel and people coming into town and visitors and patrons and fans of those individuals. That creates an additional sellout weekend. It creates a lot of business for our hoteliers. And so from my standpoint, I think that partnership, just from a business aspect, keeps moving us down that goal of creating more sellout weekends, more high demand opportunities for all of our hospitality partners to experience sustained success that really helps them to make sure that their Q2 results end in a very, very positive state. That's been a lot of fun to be involved with. I think on the more emotional side of it, I think to have you're a runner, David. You're a track guy. For our state, particularly individuals with intellectual disabilities in our state, to be able to compete at collegiate venues.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's a cool thing.
Now,
to see families and to see families getting to support their family members and friends in those atmospheres, to seeing them getting the college experience as a student, which most of them won't. If it weren't for this partnership, it's really gratifying and uplifting to have been a part of that and to be a part of that continually getting better and better over the next few years.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's one of the things that's great about the Special Olympics. And that's distinguished from, we have the Olympics, we have Paralympics, and then we have the Special Olympics, right?
Yeah.
Special Olympics is primarily focused, as you explained it, on for those with intellectual disabilities.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily physical disabilities. Well, there may be some of physical disabilities.
There's no doubt some
as well.
There's no doubt some crossover there occasionally, but yeah, Special Olympics, their mission, and Special Olympics Utah being part of Special Olympics North America, which is then part of Special Olympics International. But Special Olympics Utah's mission is really to engage the community of individuals with intellectual disabilities in the state of Utah and provide athletic services. But I think what was amazing that we saw a few weeks ago hosted on campuses as part of their Olympic Village experience, they have a healthy athlete screening, which screens hundreds of individuals at no cost and provides some of the most comprehensive healthcare opportunities that individuals with intellectual disabilities get anywhere. Special Olympics North America is the single largest provider of healthcare opportunities for individuals with ID in the United States.
Interesting.
And we got our own piece of that here with Special Olympics Utah being here. And we saw individuals from central Utah, southeastern Utah, even down into southern Nevada that came to Cedar City to experience those healthcare opportunities.
Yeah.
And again, you can't, what I love about working in the business sector, right, is you can always see an ROI. This is an ROI that is infinite in its impact. You can't
beyond
put it
monetary,
on paper.
right?
Yeah. Of how do you put an impact value on providing healthcare to people that need healthcare? How do you put an impact value on people getting to have once in a lifetime experiences that they would never have if you weren't involved with it? How do you put an impact number on seeing people positively uplifted in a way and celebrated in a way that wouldn't happen if these partnerships didn't exist? And I think that's probably why I continually keep calling the Special Olympics Utah partnership evergreen. It's evergreen from a financial perspective. It's evergreen from an impact perspective. It's evergreen from the perspective of positively changing quality of life for so many people in our state. And those are fun partnerships to be part of.
Yeah. Well, and I think it really, one of the things about Special Olympics that stands out to me is helping those who don't have family members or friends or don't know people with intellectual disabilities, helping. The reason why I'm hedging saying this is there's some people that feel uncomfortable, you know, when they're around someone that maybe has Down syndrome because they don't, people don't know how should I interact if I've never interacted with someone with Down syndrome before, and that's just one example. I remember, even when I was a kid, I didn't know, you know, how do you interact? And, luckily I feel blessed to have had experiences with individuals with Down syndrome or severe autism or things like that, where I've been able to interact with them and get to see how intellectual they really are, how, whether that's mentally or emotionally intellectual. You know, there's a few Down syndrome individuals that I know, and they are just the most loving, wonderful, and encouraging people. And to see them makes you almost self-reflect on yourself of, gosh, am I even as emotionally intelligent as this individual? And that's what I love about Special Olympics. It brings out the best of sport, which is building morale and teamwork and camaraderie, those things. Anyways, I'm kind of blabbing about that, but
no, it's something that's easy to have a really deep and insightful and uplifting conversation about, right? I think,
there's a lot of stigmas out there. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is there stigmas? If you've not interacted with those with special needs, sometimes you're not sure. And the truth is, you don't act or react any differently. Other than to show love and support and like anyone else.
I think it's at a deeper level. I think we're all called to be in community. We're all called to be proximate with people. And I think what this partnership has done is it's brought our community to a deeper level of understanding and being proximate with people from a variety of different places, different backgrounds, and different needs and different abilities.
And I think
that is an important thing that our campus and our community has experienced through this partnership, is being welcoming of people of differing abilities.
Right.
And we saw that. And we're going to continue to see it for many, many years. And I think, again, at a deeper level, creating community, creating experiences for people of differing abilities and backgrounds, and then also creating that proximity that you're talking about to where people truly connect. I thought Special Olympics Utah was brilliant in their marketing campaign for this. They were very creative. A lady by the name of Taylor Smith, who works for them, came up with the tagline, "Sports Unite Us," SUU, right? Sports Unite Us. I thought it was really creative. But that is a very truthful thing. Sports do unite us, and they create community, and they create proximity with people. And the more proximate we are with people, the more genuine connection we have with people. study after study will tell you that there's positive, everlasting changes that happen out of those experiences. And I'm hopeful that we had a lot of those experiences here in our community in the last few weeks.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, it makes, when you say, when you talk about a variety of people of different abilities, I think, isn't that the premise of Utah Summer Games anyways?
It is who we are at our core.
Anyone from 5 years old to 95 years old, the spectrum of different abilities, Utah Summer Games has always been about that, where middle-aged men like myself can go out and try to relive the glory days, knowing that we'll nowhere touch where we once were, right? Anybody. And I love that. And so to me, it's a natural fit to have this partnership with the Special Olympics to say, yeah, Utah Summer Games is about sport for those of all abilities. And so what a welcoming partnership that is. And I kind of joke, I always tell, and I can't remember if I've said this on the podcast before, but I coach track and cross country. And I always joke with our kids on the teams that I'm the Uncle Rico of running. If you've ever watched Napoleon Dynamite, and he's always living in his glory days of throwing a pigskin over the mountains. And so the joke is, how much you want to bet I can run over them mountains, Yeah. And so I love that. I love that sense. And speaking of coaching track, and you would know probably quite a bit about this, but one thing that I wasn't aware of till this year while coaching track, because we moved here from somewhere else, was the Unified program.
Yep. Unified Track and Field.
Yeah. Through the Utah High School Activities Association, right? Yep. And you were with them before. And I think that, and I kind of want to digress into that because I think that pairs very well with what we're talking about with the Special Olympics. You want to kind of detail what the Unified program is? Because I felt like I didn't fully understand it till some of our kids were there. And I'm like, now, who are these kids? I don't remember these kids. And some of the other students explained it to me.
So the Unified program, it started over a decade ago. It's a national program that Special Olympics North America and Special Olympics International have run.
Oh, so it is tied to Special Olympics
very
as
much
well.
so. Very much so. It's their program. About 10 plus years ago, they created an MOU with the Utah High School Activities Association where they got involved. They had a good program going. There was a good yearly turnaround. What happened? It really hit the next level, frankly, when First Lady Abby Cox entered into that position. And through her support, through the support of their foundation, the Show Up Foundation behind this. And it's just a simple fact that with her being a very public champion of the program, and then with the incredible infrastructure and organization that Special Olympics Utah has been able to build to leverage that increased interest, we've seen amazing opportunities that have come, again, for people of all abilities, where the UHSAA now sanctions soccer, which is played at America First Field, where Real plays basketball this year. And we started basketball when I was at the association, was played at the Delta Center as part of the finals. State track now is merged as part of the overall UHSAA state track experience at BYU. It has become, again, a very proximate community of athletes and individuals that are being celebrated for all of their abilities. And I will say I've definitely been blessed to be around that and see that evolution and that change, and to play a small part in it. But I think there's so many people that really deserve a lot of credit for their vision with that. I think Scott Weaver, who's our partner with Special Olympics Utah, their president and CEO, how he's stewarded that, again, increase in interest and growth is a great credit to him. I do think First Lady Cox and the Show Up team, they deserve a tremendous amount of credit, as well as many of their donors and benefactors and different people, for seeing the vision and seeing the positive outcome many times, not only for individuals with ID, but even more so for the peer partner athletes that are working with them, who again are experiencing this different community, this different understanding, these different relationships.
Well, that's what I wanted.
Many times are lifelong,
right? That's what I wanted you to describe. So for those that aren't familiar with it, and this is what surprised me. was those who aren't familiar with it, how is that unified program? How does it function on the practical level where you talked about the peers? So explain that.
So you have partner student athletes who are generally individuals without intellectual disabilities that are working with student athletes who have intellectual disabilities.
And they're paired together.
It's
on the event.
It is truly a unified team.
Yeah.
And you're unified in terms of all different abilities, all different spectrums.
So like if they do shot put, they take both their scores of the both unified athletes in the pairing. So if they each throw, one throws 30 and the other throws 20, they get 50 feet. I think that's how it works from what I understand.
Yeah. And that's on the track side. Unified soccer, you have, you'll have partner student athletes as well as student athletes with ID. Basketball, we actually had unified basketball for the first time ever in the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games this year.
And so when they're out playing, you have the pairings out there the whole
It's
time.
a unified team.
That is so awesome.
And it creates, it's interesting for me to talk to the student athletes who are working as mentors and with the coaches. And again, the outcomes are universally positive. Mm-hmm. But I think, again, the group that is most positively benefited from that proximity, that community, is many times the partners who are actively engaging with student athletes who have ID, and to see their viewpoint of the world, their empathy and emotional connection with people change because of that experience. I think it's something that truly is life-changing. And I think that's why we've seen the tremendous growth of the program, because of the work of Scott and his team at Special Olympics Utah and First Lady Cox. And don't want to leave out the High School Association as well with the work they've done, because you're just seeing this universally positive, almost restorative work that's going on and creating these new relationships. And
cool.
It's been really cool to be a witness to it.
Well, I'll tell you how I kind of figured out how unified worked.
Yeah.
And it was a little embarrassing on my part because I had seen for track, I'd seen on our coaches page, we have, list of all of our coaches, little bio about them. And we had 2 coaches listed as unified. And I saw that at the beginning of the season. And I didn't think anything of it, but then I don't know, partly through the season, I started thinking about that. I'm like, wait, where are those other 2 coaches? Who are they? And I remember it said unified under it. And then one day I was asked to fill in on shot put. Just coaching shot put.
Were you a natural shot putter? Was that one of your major focuses in your high school track and field days?
Throwing was the only track event I haven't coached.
Yeah.
And so when I was asked to help input on that. So I had done it once or twice. Excuse me. I'd done it once or twice. And then one day I have 2 or 3 athletes come that I knew, kind of known them.
Yeah.
And they had a couple athletes with them that were really quiet and they were paired up and they were throwing the shots to each other. And I could tell that 2 of the athletes could throw it way further and 2 of the athletes couldn't throw it very far. So I told them, okay, let's switch this up. So you 2 that are throwing farther can reach each other better and vice versa. And they kind of looked at me funny, like, I don't know. But they, being good kids, they're like, oh, okay, coach. And they did. And then one of those coaches from our list came over and was just kind of standing there and maybe kind of giving little pointers here and there. I'm like, I don't know who this guy is.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I've seen him. And anyway, so after we were done, I went to one of the students and I said, can you explain to me who that coach is? Because this is the first time I've seen him here. And he said, oh, it's unified. And I said, well, tell me more about that. And he was telling me a little bit more. So then I quizzed one of our other coaches more about unified, and they explained the explanation I just had you give. And I went back to the kids and I'm like, you guys, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that you guys were paired together like that. And they're like, oh, it's okay, coach. We figured you didn't understand how that worked. And when they explained to me how this program worked, and I guess the unified kids start a little later in the season or something. That's why I hadn't seen
It's
them.
kind of a different sports season timeline.
Yeah, exactly. And so
qualifying meets are a little different. Yep.
Yeah. And then when they explained it all to me, and I don't claim to know all the nuances of it, but my heart was so warmed by that.
Yeah.
I thought, what a beautiful experience. And my heart was so warmed also about those kids that were paired with these others to help them, to mentor them, to help them feel welcome. And the maturity of those teenagers to me was beyond their years. And I was so thankful for that experience. And quite frankly, the 2 or 3 kids that had special needs, I didn't even know. I just thought they were quiet kids.
Yeah.
And so, I'm blabbing. That was a digression, but the reason why I wanted to dive into that is because, and it's funny because you said there is a direct tie. I saw just this tie between Unified and Special Olympics and Utah Summer Games.
Yeah.
There's just this natural thread. So I'm just blabbing on how it just makes sense.
No,
that all these things
it's
are
wonderful to hear
together.
Yeah, it's wonderful to hear your experience. And I think, at a few different levels, I think one, that's one of our major goals, right? We're trying to create community, and we're trying to create healthy community and a lifelong focus on healthy lifestyles through sports. Well, that doesn't segregate. That's very open in terms of who can benefit from that. People of all abilities, right?
Yeah.
That's part of our mission. That's
beautiful.
who we are. I think, to circle back a little bit and bookend the impact that it has on participants and people who see that programming. Fred Rogers used to talk about it's such a good feeling, right? Mm-hmm. It is a good
wonderful feeling.
Yeah. You can't minimize that.
Yeah.
It is a good feeling. Empathy is one of those things that you're able to see things that you previously couldn't see, and you'll never be able to unsee.
Yeah.
And when you see that connection, when you see those relationships, when you see a very genuine care between people like that, you can't unsee that, nor do you want to. And what it creates is this insatiable desire inside of you to create those types of relationships, to be part of that, to experience and celebrate people of all abilities and what they're doing. And no doubt about that, at the core of who we are as the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games, that's what we're trying to do. And the more people we can bring into that experience, the more people that we can benefit. We're trying to be a positive force for creating abundant life in Utah communities and in surrounding states.
Yeah.
And I can't think of a better example of what it means to create that abundant life, that abundant community, this sense of connection than that partnership.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And that's actually my bias of loving track and cross country. That's one of the reasons why I love track and cross country, why I love marathons and half marathons is everybody can get out there and run.
Yeah.
We've got our varsity and our JV in track and cross country, and you have the really fast kids, you have the kids in between, you have the kids that are slower, and there are always these kids that the ones that stand out to me the most are always the kids that see and recognize they're not the fastest kid out there, but man, they grind harder than anyone out there.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's like whenever I'm driving, I don't know. It's like whenever do you ever buy a new car and then all of a sudden you see everybody with the same car, you start to notice it more or whatever.
Happens a little bit.
Yeah. I'm like that with runners. I get out, I'm driving and I spot like every runner out there. And I know what it's like to be out there and grinding, whether you're running 5-minute miles or 12-minute miles, you're out there grinding. And I always, in my mind, I say this little prayer, oh, please help them, because they're out there grinding, help them reach their goals, help them get there. And that's another thing that's the mindset that I see in the summer games that I think is so great that people gravitate to.
No. And I think what you're really talking about there, David, is competition, right?
Yeah.
And I've always been a really big advocate and proponent of Pete Carroll, who's now the head coach of the Raiders. Pete Carroll's mindset has always been about relentless competition. And it's not about beating people or whatever. It's trying to get the best out of what you can give every single day.
Right.
And that may change day to day, right?
Sure.
Maybe you're sick, maybe whatever, but It's about doing the best you can do and getting the most out of what you have that particular day, and then continually building on that in incremental steps to be the best possible version of you that you can be. Running's an amazing metaphor to describe that journey, right?
Yeah.
Of you're trying to give the best you have that day. And there's a variety of external things that are hitting you, weather, how you're physically feeling, the terrain that you're running on, the, grade, is it uphill, downhill, whatever's going at you. But it's about doing the best that you can in that moment, every single step, and focusing on that journey and trying to strive to be the best that you can day after day after day after day after day, in training, in casual runs, whatever it is. Yeah. And that resonates with people. And it again creates that connection, because whether you're a fast, well-accomplished distance runner like you, or whether you're more of a Saturday 10K guy like me, if that even, you and I can still identify with that feeling of coming down at the end of a race and being tired.
Right.
You and I can identify with, we're part way into this and not at 100%, but we've got to get on a pace to be able to finish. And again, it goes back to creating the community, creating that love of competition, celebrating people who are genuinely competing.
Yeah.
That's the heart of athletics. Yeah. That's the heart of the Utah Summer Games. And I really think it's the heart of human existence if we want to go super deep. But there we have it.
Well, you made me think of, I think it was the British cycling team that had this history of being really, really bad. And they had a new coach come in and they focused on making 1% differences. I don't know if you're familiar with this story. And they ended up growing into one of the most prominent cycling teams in the world. And it also reminds me, there's a young man who is Down syndrome, does marathons and running, and he wrote a book about that 1%. The 1% change, focus a little bit, making these 1% tweaks. And it's really, it's about the consistency, identifying the little things where you need to work on and being consistent. And that's also part of the unifying thing of sports, is you know what that person is going through when you see them, if you've kind of experienced that. So no matter what an ability, the spectrum of ability is, you can relate to each other. You know exactly how it feels when you're coming around the track on a 400 and that last 100, you're just dying. Anybody who's run a 400 knows what that last 100 meters feels like, and it's awful. And so you can relate to that. Anyways, again,
I think it's again, it just speaks to that sports unite us mentality that Special Olympics Utah brought this year of it does unite us. I mean, I grew up loving the NBA. Michael Jordan was at the peak of his power when I grew up watching the NBA,
crushing everybody's Utah Jazz.
That was a little tough, but it's to me of like, I'm never going to identify with what he was able to physically accomplish. I'm just not going to.
Right.
Let's be frank about
the
that.
Love of the sport.
But I can identify with that desire to keep getting better.
Yeah.
I can identify with the desire to keep wanting to improve at my craft. Different levels, different abilities, different outcomes, no doubt.
Yeah.
But
different
again,
hairdo.
The identity, I would say, is consistent of wanting to get better and wanting to be the best that I can possibly be.
Yeah.
And whether you are a high-end professional athlete, whether you're running a 400, whether you're a person of any ability or any age or any background that's competing in your local rec league or the Utah Summer Games or whatever it may be, everybody can identify with wanting to be the best that individual day and meeting their own standard of excellence that individual day. And that's what creates that connection and community that does unite us.
So with the Special Olympics, what events are going to be going on? Talk about the spectrum of events. Is it like exactly the same as spectrum of events as Utah Summer Games, or what's the difference?
It is a little bit different. So soccer, swimming, and what they call athletics, but is more or less track and field, was part of the inaugural event. I think it's going to grow year over year, definitely starting year one of the partnership. It was, again, a new concept because predominantly their summer games have happened all on the Wasatch Front.
Yeah.
It's kind of a day trip type thing for most of the state. This was an entirely new concept, and a concept that saw them traveling across the state, again, staying in the dorms, eating in the student center, seeing a special
that experience,
seeing a special performance of the Utah Shakespeare Festival, courtesy of our good friends at BZI, who helped to sponsor that and created an incredible experience with that. But I think, again, it over time, we're going to see, and we're already hearing it, more and more people that want to have that experience next year, and people competing in different sports that want to have that experience next year. We already, even with the Utah Summer Games, have a bowling event that we've had for a long time. We've had an adaptive bowling event, and I see us over the next few years continuing to add events that cater to either an adaptive setting, which is more of a Paralympics piece that you talk about, or pieces and qualifiers and brackets that work particularly with individuals with intellectual disabilities. I think this partnership in and of itself has even inspired us to rethink who we can be. And who we can be for more people, to bring more people in and more people that we can touch with what we're doing to create that sense of abundant life and community that is very much part of who we are.
Celebrate together. Yeah, for sure. Now I'm going to give our cards away a little bit. We're recording this now before the opening ceremonies, so I kind of, even though when people listen to this, opening ceremonies will have happened, but talk about who's lighting the torch this year and who we got for
this. This is a really exciting pickup. So people who are familiar with the Utah sports community and the Utah Olympics community will know this name, Bill Schuffenhauer. So Bill grew up, he's a Utah native, grew up in Roy, up in Weber County, actually competed at the Utah Summer Games, but then went on, was a decathlete at Weber State, ran up there as part of their, long-standing successful track and field program there under Chick Hislop and Dan Walker and all these different folks along the way who really positively influenced their program. Then in qualifying or wanting to qualify for the Olympics, got into bobsled, won silver in the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake, doing the bobsled up in Park City in the 4-man bobsled, and then was part of several different Olympic games after that. So Bill's story is really unique because it is no doubt a rise. He's a tremendous motivational speaker. If you ever get a chance to listen to him talk, does a great job. Bill had a rough childhood and used athletics as a vehicle to, channel that. Definitely created a lot of positive experiences in his life. But then, has kind of had rise and fall with different parts in his life. You look at what Bill's doing now as an Olympic medalist. He's really big in the Olympic alumni movement, serves on several national governing boards and committees, advisory roles with the USOC. He's an inspiring guy. And I think back to even what we've talked about throughout this podcast is you may not identify with Bill's journey of winning Olympic silver, of being a college track and field athlete. You may not identify with that, but I can guarantee that everybody who's listening to this podcast can identify with the journey of where you started wanting to find a place where you're doing more.
Right.
Or having to navigate the roller coaster of life, of ebbs and flows and how that goes. Right. And Bill, I think, again, has found a way to consistently create positive outcomes for people in telling his story. And I think is just a great get for us to have as our torch carrier of carrying that Olympic flame for sure as an Olympic medal winner. But I think more or less, Bill carries with his story something that is a flame that's inside of all of us. And again, that's the flame to just get better tomorrow. Yeah. To take today and to get better tomorrow. And
that's great.
His speaking is much, much better. I can't really do it justice, but he's a tremendous ambassador, I think, for the Olympic spirit, not only in the state of Utah, but worldwide. And again, it's fun to know that his athletic heritage, the Utah Summer Games, are a big part of that.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Okay. So we've talked a lot about some of the up and coming, the partnerships. What can people expect with Utah Summer Games this year?
I think what people can expect is again, we very much are trying to continually improve our standard of how we're even operating the games. From a promotional side, marketing side, we're trying to always improve that. We're trying to connect in a very targeted sense with more and more audiences that we feel have an opportunity to uniquely connect, not only with the Summer Games, but to SUU, to Cedar City, to the state of Utah. It's a little bit more of our economic development focus there, no doubt.
Have you added any new events or things for this year?
Our football events this year, cornhole.
Okay. Cornhole.
Cornhole is a new ad this year.
That brings me back when I lived out in Florida in the South.
Yep.
They had huge cornhole tournaments.
Yeah. So we're trying to jump into that market. We're also getting involved in outdoor volleyball. What we're trying to do is find value ads that we think are positive for the games or positive for our business community, but also are positive just in terms of new communities of people that we think can positively benefit from our experience that we're offering.
Okay, so you said flag football,
7-on-7 football.
7-on-7 football. Okay.
Yeah.
Cornhole. Did you say outdoor volleyball?
Outdoor volleyball. Yeah.
Are those the 3 new ones? Or are there any other new ones?
Those are the 4 this year. We also added figure skating back in February.
Oh, figure skating.
And 7-on-7 football and girls flag football are really two separate
sports.
Okay,
girls flag, 7-on-7, cornhole and outdoor.
Yeah. And then we got into winter sports back in February
with figure skating.
Which
are you doing that out at the
So we actually, our first year partnering with Utah Figure Skating, held it at the Olympic Oval. So that was kind of a cool,
that is cool
opening for us. I think moving into next year, our plan, no doubt, is to hold a event up north in the winter, but then to hold a summer skating event here in Iron County during the summer months as well.
Nice.
And I think we're trying to move into that market on the winter sports side more or less because we think we have a positive brand to bring, particularly in advance of SLC 2034. We want to make sure that we're servicing the state in bringing a high quality organized amateur athletic experience for winter sports participants.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be an exciting growth vehicle for us in the next 5 years as we continue to get more and more into that.
Have you had any conversations, and maybe you can't give away your cards, about adding ice hockey as an event? Because I know the ice rink here, that's what they're all about, the amateur ice hockey, right?
We've had a lot of productive collaborative conversations with the Smith Entertainment Group, and I think we're excited to see where that relationship continues to evolve over the next few years.
Nice. So, all right.
Both on the basketball and hopefully the hockey side.
Oh, okay.
So we'll wait to see. Obviously with the partnership, it's got to be good for both sides, but I think again, because of what we're doing overall, I think what's positive is we're seeing a lot of people that are excited about the work that we're doing and want to find a mutually beneficial way to get involved. And they have a lot of great people on their team, and we're very hopeful to find ways to work with them in the coming years.
Awesome. Okay. Anything else new up and coming that we need to know about?
I think one of the biggest things that I have to close on, and this is cool if you're a longtime Cedar City resident, is this year is the first ever collaboration between the Utah Summer Games and the Utah Shakespeare Festival.
Okay.
Which is kind of mind-boggling to think about.
Yeah.
But
so are people going to run in their Shakespearean Renaissance outfits? Or
no, but that is a good event for next year that we should add.
Instead of a Santa run, we could do a Shakespeare 5K.
We'll have to talk with, and I know you've had Michael on the show. Yeah, you've had Michael on the show. Yeah. No, really a credit to Michael and John D'Antonio and Kimmy Paul and their entire team over there. Just wonderful, brilliant, collaborative folks. And so this year on Thursday, June, I believe it's 26th.
Okay.
Is Utah Summer Games night at the Utah Shakespeare Festival. There'll be a performance of Macbeth. We're encouraging Summer Games participants. You'll be able to come get in with your Summer Games shirt. And then Summer Games participants also have access to a variety of different ticketing opportunities at discounted prices throughout the summer and fall months because they participated in the Summer Games, and they'll be able to take in the full array of wonderful performances this year, which the Shakespeare Festival has on their calendar. And so again, credit to Michael and John and their teams for trying to be collaborative and trying to put together a great opportunity to create a melding of the arts and sports culture here in the state of Utah, particularly in Cedar City.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sorry, you have to forgive my coughing. Just got over a cold.
But again, that's the thing, David. You here today are trying to perform at the highest level you can.
I am.
Knowing, again, that you got some adversity, right? And you've still done it.
I'm so hardcore right now.
You're competing. I love it.
Okay, we seriously need to talk to Michael Barr about doing a Shakespeare 5K. That would be hilarious.
It would be, David, you might have created the next new big Summer Games event right here.
We might have just right here off the cuff. That's awesome.
There we go. Okay, let's start discussion on it as soon as we get off air.
Well, yeah, we'll get going on that.
Yeah.
Well, to kind of wrap up, and we teased it in the beginning, teasing again. I'm really looking forward to talking to the Raiders next week.
Yeah.
To talk about that partnership and diving into how you approach them and what their overarching plan is and why Cedar City, Utah we honestly, we're closer to Vegas than we are to Salt Lake.
Yeah, by about 30 minutes.
Yeah. And so what an awesome opportunity to have that partnership. And I'm looking forward to talking about that as well. So I don't know if there's anything you want to say to kind of tease into that.
I think it's, next week as you host members of the organization here on the set, to talk about the partnership and talk about their investment in the state of Utah is again, I think it's when you get good people in a room. I'm a big believer that good things tend to happen.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks to our community has a lot to offer.
Yeah.
And I think the culture we have, not only from a business nature, but also just in terms of the relationships that we're very intentional about building with people. I think it matters. And I think it still has a place. And I'm excited to hear and watch the episode as well, to hear them talk about, kind of their future for football growing, particularly flag football in the state of Utah.
Yeah.
And also to see how, again, people's lives are going to be bettered by having an iconic brand like that get involved in our sports community. I think it's going to have a lot of positive outcomes. And I'm excited to hear your conversation with them.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so remind everybody the season for the Utah Summer Games, or the primary season, where they go to sign up, et cetera, et cetera. Where do they need to go to get involved in Utah Summer Games?
So year round, you can go to utahsummergames.org for signups, information on sports. You can read recaps of events we've had going on. We still, because our program calendar now does go all throughout the month of June. We've got events throughout the month of June, major events, youth basketball the last weekend of June. That's going to be a big add to that part of the programming. We have USTA tennis qualifiers in July. We have a practical shooting match that we've added in July. We have other events going on throughout the fall. We have stuff literally for all people, almost all people. Well, I guess that's maybe a bit big, but I guarantee if you peruse our website, you'll find something that you could compete in and have a great experience at. So utahsummergames.org. Also follow us on Instagram, Facebook at LHM Utah Summer Games on Instagram, Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games on Facebook. Always have different promotions, different events that are coming up, different opportunities to engage. And again, I can't say enough about the people that we have working in our organization. I can't say enough about our partners. I wish I could give a whole podcast just going through each of our corporate partners and foundation partners and the work that they're doing to support what we're trying to do. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The Utah Summer Games, I think, is really a love story in many cases. And it's great to see the love and dedication of so many people pooled into creating a great experience for so many visitors from outside the area, as well as people in our community.
Great. Well, Jon Oglesby, Executive Director of the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games, thank you so much for coming on again, and look forward to more conversations in the future.
David, thanks so much. It was an honor to be here.